A time long ago when the world was divided into three kingdoms. Above, among the clouds, Jupiter ruled the heavens. Below, beneath the ground, Pluto ruled the underworld. Between the heavens and the underworld ruled the goddess Ceres and her beautiful daughter Proserpina. Meadows blossomed with flowers, and wheat grew thick and tall. Ceres and Proserpina made the earth green the whole year round, for in that time the year had no seasons. The people lived in awe of Jupiter, and they were afraid of Pluto, but they loved Ceres and Proserpina for the bountiful gifts of life. They did not know that this would soon change. Pluto's underworld rested on the body of a sleeping giant. Ages before, the giant had been buried under a mountain of rock and had slept ever since, but from time to time he shifts beneath his burden. One day, the goddess Ceres was walking over earth. At her side, filled with happiness, ran Proserpina. Ceres turned to Proserpina and said, "I must go visit with the other gods, but I won't be gone long. Don't wander away. Stay here with Cayenne. You'll be safe, my darling, by the edge of the pool." Proserpina watched as her mother flew into the sky. After her mother left, Proserpina looked out into the open field of flowers and said to Cayenne, "I'll make a bouquet for Mother." She sprinted to the field before Cayenne could stop her. Proserpina's arms were soon filled with beautiful flowers, and all of a sudden she spotted a narcissus. She gasped in awe and ran over to it, and started to pull on the stem. The stem wouldn't budge, so she pulled harder and harder, and finally it broke, and the earth broke open with smoke and vapor shooting up into the sky. Out of nowhere, Pluto rushed out of the crack in the earth, and grabbed her and thrusted her onto his horses. Proserpina screamed with terror, and tried to squirm out of Pluto's grasp, but he was too strong. Pluto soon realized that he had fallen in love with her innocent beauty. Cayenne watched helplessly as Pluto and Proserpina vanished into the blackness, and she began to sob. Ceres heard Proserpina's cries high in the clouds, and rushed down to earth. She searched for Proserpina, but she couldn't find her. All she found was flowers lying on the ground. Ceres screamed, "Where is my daughter?" Ceres searched everywhere, but found nothing. Everywhere she spilled a bitter tear. The grass withered, and the birds stopped chirping. The leaves on the trees turned brown and fell off. At last, Ceres turned to the heavens and said, "Jupiter, what has become of my daughter?" Only Sol, the sun god, answered. He explained to her what had happened, and Ceres grew angry and sad. She said, "I will give no more until my daughter returns." As Proserpina and Pluto reached the gloomy underworld, Pluto placed Proserpina on a cold stone throne. There, Ceres, the three-headed dog, guarded the palace and watched over her. All of a sudden, Mercury appeared, pounding on the gates of the underworld palace. Mercury and Pluto started to argue, and Pluto claimed that Proserpina would be his bride forever. Mercury said, "You have wrongly taken her, and you may not keep her here against her will. She is of the living. Has she eaten any food of the dead? If not, you must let her go. Jupiter commands it." Pluto left off to the room where Proserpina was to say his goodbyes. Right as Pluto walked in, Proserpina ate 3 pomegranate seeds. Pluto screamed with happiness, "She's mine forever!" Mercury heard this and flew back to Ceres as soon as possible, and informed her on the news. She told him to go back to Pluto and make a deal with him, that Proserpina would go down and be Pluto's bride for 1/3 of every year. For the rest of the year, she got to be with her mother. Pluto then agreed to the deal. And so it is to this day. Once a year Proserpina descends into Pluto's gloomy realm to sit silently by his side. On earth this is the season of cold and darkness, and all growing things await for her return. Then when she rises from the ground in glory, the birds sing and welcome, and the wheat and the grass and all the flowering plants begin to grow. Once more life begins, and the world is filled with the joy of spring.